What's up, guys? It is Aussie Poker, aka Grandmaster Max Illingworth here, and in this video, I'm going to actually work through some solvers a little bit. It's kind of funny because for nearly the whole time before, I was mainly focusing on exploitative poker, but before I go and play a bit on GTO Wizard, I actually want to show you a cool free solver that I found earlier this week when I was sort of previously too broke to buy GTO Wizard. So it's this thing called WASM post flop. You can see the link here. I think if you type WASM free solver poker, it should come up in Google. But the nice thing about this is it actually allows you to use a solver without actually having to spend any money on something like Pio solver, for example. So just to show you quickly how it works, I'm just going to use an example for argument's sake where let's just say that, we are out of position, and this is not going to be perfect. Like, obviously you have to know your ranges and you should apply them correctly as such, but still I think it's quite good for a free resource. Like, let's just say for argument's sake that out of position called a 4-bet, so we're just going to give him some range like this just for the sake of the example. Let's say we have something like this, for instance. Maybe add a couple of suited connectors as bluffs. Let's just say it's something like this, for instance, throwing pocket tens. And let's say that the in position range is just really, really nitty. Something like, the old man coffee, only playing like aces, kings, queens, and ace king as a raise. Also, forgot to mention you can actually save these ranges, and I haven't really given them a proper name by any means, but you can use it as you see fit. We can just call this call full bet just for argument's sake, and this one here will give the memorable name of Old Man Coffee, because why not? So once you've got the ranges set up, you can then put in the board, what the flop, turn, and river is. For this one, we're just going to pick some random ones just for the sake of the example. You can also click random flop as well, but in any case, we have, the board, we then have the tree configuration. I don't know whether you can do this for pre-flop. I think this solver is only for post-flop, but for pre-flop you can just refer to general ranges, right? So for this one here, you put in the stats, and it's true there are some limitations, like you can only do it for one bet size. You can't do it for for like a whole lot of size where you can with Pyro Solver or with GTO Wizard, but still for a free resource, pretty good. For the starting pot, let's make it a bit bigger. Let's make it 40 for this one. Effective stack, let's make it really deep stacked. Let's make it 200. For the bet size, for out of position, and I don't pretend to be an expert in this, but just putting in some numbers just for the sake of the example. Let's just say that in position can be 50 and out of position can be 30. Just based on the fact that in position has a range advantage here. The raise size, there's probably going to be someone watching this one day who'll be like, this size are a joke. This one is much better, but it's just for the purpose of showing you how it would work to use a solver, like what the different features are and what different parameters are you can set. I don't even understand what the all-in threshold is, but maybe you'll figure it out yourself. It's probably not that big of a deal in all fairness. But anyway, let's now run the solver. So we go here. You just click build new tree. I don't know what number of threads means, but I trust it will it'll be all good. Basically for target exploitability, the lower you make it, the longer it's going to take. Like, it'll take a long time even if you make it 0.2 instead of 0.3. So just we're not waiting here forever. I'm just going to make it 1.0 because, that's still a level that is going to be above what the vast majority of human opponents are going to be showing. Maybe nearly all the human opponents. So it's not going to be super exploitable. But anyway, let's now see the results. So we just go to the results tab here, just to the right of solver. And it'll also give you the stats of how to play the different hands. And I know for myself, when I was first saw solvers, I was like, this is so confusing. I have no idea what is going on. So that's another reason I picked a narrow range, just as a little bit easier to follow what's happening. And you can see it on this board of King of Diamonds, Queen of Spades, Six of Clubs, a rainbow board. That basically, we're kind of checking, the vast majority of the time. just because, in position is going to have a range advantage. And so what I'm going to try to do with this example here is I'm going to focus on trying to explain like why the solver what it does what it does, because I find it's much more useful to understand the patterns and develop some principles that you can sort of apply for your own play, rather than trying to memorize, for example, in this spot we bet like 3.8% of the time with ace jack of diamonds, which is, just so specific, like trying to memorize all of it is just a little bit futile in my mind. What it'll take, 6-5 suited is, 6-5 of diamonds is like betting 11.4%. Yeah, it's not really that practical if you think about it. It's easier just to check everything here. Which is actually what I normally do in my own games. Like, actually, one thing I probably going to try to work on for my own game a bit in the next week or two, maybe after the Albury tour, is to try to sort of incorporate some more donk leading, because I just tend to check out of position with nearly everything just out of habit, probably because of playing so many multi-way pots. But yeah, you can see here that in position, is going to be betting, like nearly all of the hands as such, that, the only checks really that are being done much are with aces. Which kind of, I guess, yeah, it makes sense in a certain way. Like, they could easily have, like, well, I think we didn't give them pocket kings in their range, but they could definitely have, like, pocket queens. Okay, we didn't give them pocket sixes, but, it's sort of the case that aces also is a way to kind of protect your checking range as well in some cases. This probably isn't the best example of that principle, because it's true that we have, like, such a narrow range as is, but let's say if we had a much wider 4-betting range, like, let's say you had jacks, 10s, 9s, and 8s, just for argument's sake, then if you're, like, checking with 8s, but you're also checking with aces, then, it kind of protects both of the cards in your range, allows you to play both of them more profitably in a sense. But in this case, yeah, we're just going to work with these examples if we have the pocket kings, just to make life kind of easier. So it's going to go with a bet of 20. And you can sort of see like how each side of the tree plays out in terms of what hands you'll continue with and what ones you will fold out as such, against the old man coffee range of aces, kings, queens, and ace king. And it's, yeah, kind of interesting to see like what hands we fold when we know our opponent has such a tight range. And so when you're playing like these very old guys who are like just absolute nits, and yeah, it's something that I know I see a lot of people just throw away loads of money to the nits. Like when I'm watching some YouTube videos, like there's going to be a video of someone who, just threw away their whole stack. Like I knew he had a great hand, but I just couldn't fold, that sort of thing. So it's kind of interesting to see how the solver approach that situation, where against such a tight range as a nit, it's actually folding, a lot of these top pairs like ace king is folding against the old man coffee range, which is kind of interesting. And, so also, one thing I find kind of intriguing as well, looking at the solver, is not just looking at how the value hands play, like, aces calling and queens calling and this sort of thing, but also to see kind of what hands the solver is bluffing with here. And because obviously, like, the bluff, like, is, okay, it's a very small amount that's being raised with king jack suited, but, like, that's sort of the very small bluff. I guess you could say ace queen suited as well as, like, the bluff, like, that's bluffing at about 20% of the time. Again, you can obviously, like, it's very rare to just raise, like, it's just basically folding unless you have, like, two pair or unless you have, like, an overpair or better, like, you have aces, you have king queen suited, king queen off, queens, and yeah, calling with ace jack suited, I guess, because of the potential both to, both to make the nut straight, with a 10, but also with the backdoor flush draw, kind of, yeah, that's sort of where I guess the kind of bluff call is coming in this case. But yeah, you can sort of see if it's ace jack of hearts, like if we just look to the right, like I was like to show it with the cursor, but yeah, you'll just have to follow with your eyes, I guess, because I'm using a mouse to show ace jack suited. But yeah, you can sort of see that ace jack hearts without the backdoor flush draw is mostly folding, so you kind of need both the gut shot and the backdoor flush draw in order to continue. So let's just say we call, because it's a bit of a boring example if we fold. And yeah, let's say that it comes with the ace of spades, just to make it really interesting with some really high cards here. Then yeah, you can sort of see that, okay, admittedly I made the bet size only 50%, with a better solver you have a lot of different sizes like 30%, 50%, 75%, 125, 175, etc. So obviously, yeah, there are some limitations, because maybe, the best action is actually to bet, for example, 150% of the pot with aces. But still, you can sort of see how, like, you can at least see what is the better decision potentially between checking and making a certain bet size, as it were. And also another cool thing is that you can also see what the EV of different hands is, the expected value. So you can sort of see, yeah, that the aces is getting like 154 EV, whereas, the king's queen ones are sort of a bit more indifferent once the ace comes on the board. There's going to be, yeah, quite a bit of ace in the, in the opponent's range in a sense. So, like with aces and ace king in the old man coffee's range. So, going back to the strategy, we're just going to see, yeah, that in terms of the way we play it, that, now we're not really sort of bluffing so much. Well, okay, 6-5 is kind of, bluffing a bit like with betting half the time. That's sort of like the bluff in this range. Like, if you're wondering, like, why the solver is kind of throwing in some bluffs in a lot of spots, it's because basically in order to make the opponent indifferent between checking and calling, it means that basically you need to have like 60% value hands to 33% bluffs with your bet, so that basically, they kind of make $0 like when they call you every time, and they make $0 when they fold every time. So it's sort of an advanced concept, like 99% of your opponents are not going to really exploit you because the population all just tends to way under bluff. Like, they're not going to find, like, it's maybe not so likely they find, I don't know, King Jack suited as a bluff, like, for example, here, even though we're meant to be, raising with it like 65% of the, or not raise, but betting with it 65% of the time out of position as such. And especially when there's the hearts actually is kind of a interesting one that one will actually like bet with that nearly all of the time. And that's probably because we're not blocking any of the flush draws as such, so it's more likely that they will have a flush draw. That would be my estimate of why we do this. And also, yeah, with the queens and aces, obviously this is kind of a bet for value, when you have, second, when you have the third set, or when you have, top set as such. So anyway, let's just say that we already forgot what hand we gave ourselves in this spot. I think we did give ourselves a hand, but let's just say that we have, let's make it interesting, and let's say that we have ace-jack suited in this spot. Specifically, let's say we have the, well, okay, we can't have the ace of spades because that's on the board, but let's just say we have the ace of diamonds and the jack of diamonds, so we're just going to check that. They have the kings, and yeah, you can see that at a bet of 40 that it would be a bet here. Actually, it's kind of an interesting question, like if you made it, where you could go all in here, whether you would just shove at this point with the kings. It's kind of an interesting question. Because, yeah, we see that the aces, yeah, sometimes is... It's kind of curious, saying it's not even getting there, but it's probably because, yeah, it would have, yeah, gone and checked some of the time. So it's probably why the range here, you see, is a little bit reduced. Like, sort of, one thing to keep in mind that, yeah, sometimes you won't see some hands that were in the original range, because those hands would have normally kind of, folded instead of called, or would have raised instead of called, this kind of thing. So that's something to keep in mind, that if the play goes, like, completely different from what the solver recommends, it can sometimes be hard to keep track of it, and it's part of the beauty of poker, like, the more, let's say, human element. But since we're giving, like, kings in this example, let's just say that, they do bet this one. And, yeah, in that case, yeah, if we have the ace-jack suited, yeah, it's just a fold, because the reason is that also, like, let's say even if, you are... Well, okay, jack-10 is not really in the range, I guess that would be a different question, but, like, with ace-jack, you basically have a bluff catcher, like, virtually all the hands now they could have just beat you in a certain sense. Like, if they have ace-king, well, that's two pair now. If they have, queens, kings, or aces, yeah, that's a set. King, queen, king, jack is... Queen is, yeah, two pair. So, yeah, it just ends up being a case where you basically fold everything except, like, yeah, the really strong hands like aces, and the queens just call here. Because, I mean, if you shove these hands... Well, okay, aces is the second nuts after jack 10's jack 10, but jack 10's you're not in the ranges we put here. But, like, with the aces, like, I mean, yeah, you're sort of just calling because, yeah, you sort of don't want to make it easy for the opponent to play perfectly, in a sense. Like, say, if you shoved with the queens, they're only probably going to call with kings and aces as such. I don't know it's for sure, but that's kind of my sort of logical guess. It's sort of interesting, that king jack suited turns into the bluff here, that if you do have the king jack suited, that, yeah, you sort of... We'll use as a bluff, I think, because of the blocker potential, because you're sort of blocking the... I mean, actually, it's probably not the right reason, in fact, because, yeah, we're not giving jack 10, but it's probably the idea that, you want to, yeah, have some bluffs in your ranges, the raise. But kind of interesting, we don't have any, Well, actually, that's not entirely true. Actually, with the aces, we, like, I'm a little bit colorblind, like, a red-green colorblind, didn't actually see it. We are actually raising the aces most of the time. So, anyway, yeah, but you can see, basically, like, where raising with the aces mostly, a tiny bit with the queens like as a semi bluff, and with the king jack suited, yeah, as sort of a total bluff, just to sort of balance the ranges as such. 33% bluff, 60%, 66% value. And that's, yeah, going raise all in as well, to be clear. Where now the stacks are, sort of, well, with the pot being 80, yeah, the sort of, I think because we set to 150% or something, yeah, now it's showing the all-in option, whereas, yeah, if you want to see it before, you'd have to set that percentage of, like, the all-in threshold a lot higher than 150%. So, anyway, but yeah, let's just say that since we have the ace-jack, yeah, it just becomes a fold in that case, and that would be the end of the tree. And yeah, if we end up just like calling, let's say, with aces, yeah, you'd be able to see how things play out based on different rivers. Like, just to make it interesting, we can make this one suited, just a suited brick here, and then see, like, say, if they were to check. And then, yeah, you can sort of see, that with the flushes, that, yeah, it's kind of interesting because there aren't really the flushes in the in positions range because it's so tight and the ace of spades on the board. So that kind of makes it sort of interesting. Also, if, let's say, you did make a mistake, you want to go back, you can also go back, yeah, and see what happens when you, like, have some different things, like, I think, this one, yeah, if I just untick it, well, yeah, you can sort of see how the different hands play. So, anyway, for this one, I just realized, yeah, it's only showing the old man coffee now for the out of position as well as the in position, because the hands aren't old man coffee, just fold. So, yeah, we're both learning here in this case. But yeah, say if they do check, then yeah, in position is, yeah, actually going to be shoving most of their range as such. So, which kind of, yeah, makes sense if you think about it with the aces and the kings. Because often this is where the blockers kind of come in, because, like, nearly all of the flush draws that get in here are going to be, like, ace, queen, and, going to be, like, the ace, queen suited and ace, jack suited. When you have the ace of spades, it's kind of blocked from them having, like, the nut flush, let's say, on the flop, continuing there. The king queen suited, yeah, be a more interesting one, but those hands kind of already folded pre-flops, or not folded pre-flop, but folded before the river, so they kind of end up being, like, not in the range as much. But yeah, with the all-in, yeah, you can sort of see, yeah, you're just calling with the aces and sometimes calling, sometimes folding with the queen. So anyway, yeah, this hand, it's true that, yeah, was kind of one that, we sort of played along, but I think it shows, yeah, how you can try to use the solvers yourself effectively. Also kind of interesting that king jack is kind of calling as sort of, yeah, not sure why exactly it's calling, because it seems like a hand that, is going to be just beat nearly all the time, but anyway, it is what it is. So in any case, yeah, it shows how you can use the solvers to good effect. And okay, this one, it's true, was a relatively simple example, but for a free resource, I think it's quite nice to be able to look at these different spots and see, like, what's the better choice between checking and betting in the different situations from the computer point of view. Obviously, yeah, humans will play it quite differently, so but still you can learn a lot, yeah, from seeing, like, how you in a vacuum should play it. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, do make sure to like it. Now what I'm going to do for the final part of this video is I'm just going to do a little bit of training now that I have got GTO Wizard. I'm actually going to play against a GTO opponent. And I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes, but I think it'll be a lot of fun, and we will definitely learn something along the way. Like, now that the All Breed Poker Tour is for me starting in 2 days, what I'm doing is, I'm sort of, yeah, now not, like, trying to study quite as hard, but when I do study, yeah, try to do it in a way that is still, like, interesting and fun and hopefully not too tiring. Actually, I don't really know actually how to, like, do all of the settings here, but I'm just going to make it. So MTT, yeah, I'm also kind of figuring this out because I just literally just got the subscription just before this video. But I'm just going to keep the settings just as they are. I think if I make it too complicated, it could lead to some problems. So let's just use the default settings. So let's start the training, and we'll do it from pre-flop. And I'll probably play about 5 to 10 examples. We'll see how it goes. Like, if I end up, like, explaining some of the examples a bit more, like trying to figure out why the solver does what it does, then yeah, we'll do it a bit differently. Okay, this one is practicing some shoving, so not really what I want to practice, actually. I want to practice something a little bit different to that. Just bear with me for a moment as I try to figure this one out. So, yeah, this was only a test, like, whether you would call a shove or... I think that's... Oh, no, whether you would shove or whether you would fold in this spot. But yeah, just a fold. But let's try and figure out these settings. Because I think these are from when I was, like, using the free version. So yeah, I have to obviously try and change something here. But not sure what exactly. Still, yeah, figuring out my way around this. What if I click on Wonder if I refresh whether it does anything or whether it just stays the same or not. But yeah, maybe it's best if I just leave it for another time, to sort of change your settings and figure it out. So anyway, that's all for today's video. I'll save the GTO wizard for a later session when I figured out some details. I'm not like, trying to do it for like 15 minutes just stumbling around. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. And yeah, until then, take care.